Yo, still bills, what's the deal, man? Yo, it's Friday Eve, a nigga heading to the plantation. Y'all know how the story go, man. But peep game, we got to get into tonight's fight, and that is Jermaine Ortiz versus Teofimo Lopez, man. I really don't know how I feel about this fight. Y'all know how I can't stand Teofimo Lopez, man, but I would be remiss to sit here and say that the dude ain't a talented fighter. In every big fight that he's been in, he's proven us wrong. Despite George Cambosos, despite Sandor Martin, he's come through in the clutch in pretty big time fights. So it's kind of hard to go against him in this matchup, man. I think in one of their one common opponent that they have in Lomachenko, I think Jermaine Ortiz was able to perform a little bit better, even though Teofimo, he won the fight. It was due to circumstance of how he won that fight. Like, he won that fight based on Lomachenko not doing anything. You dig? He was going inactive. You dig? It wasn't like he was countering him or nothing like that. He was just, and it wasn't like he was just beating him to the punch. Lomachenko was just apprehensive to let a shot go, and that's how Teofimo was able to get the job done, man. But when Jermaine Ortiz fought him, he was countering with him. He was countering him. He was timing him coming in. He was in the clinch and exchanges. He was getting, in moments, he was getting the better end of him. I'm not so sure. Like, the smart thing to do would be pick Teofimo in this matchup, because if you go off resume alone, you dig Josh Taylor, Lomachenko, and Richard Comey. Those three fights in particular. Nakatani came into prominence due to fight, giving Teofimo the fight that he, the hardest fight that he fought in. So the logical thing to do and the easiest thing to do would be pick Teofimo Lopez in this matchup, man. But I'm not so sure that it's going to be that easy. Because I think with Teofimo has good feet in the pocket. And not good feet, but just competent feet. I think he has competent feet in the pocket, because early on in the fight with him and Lomachenko, he was able to spin out and everything. He was able to spin out and pivot out with him every time Lomachenko was trying to cut those angles. But when you look at the Sandor Martin fight, you saw how I don't want to call him flat-footed, but when it's time for him to go on the hunt, he's not as effective. When he has to try to find a way to cut off the ring and all that, and yo, my man, you're killing me. Oh, as soon as this car passes, I'm outie. Okay. Well, as soon as that car passes, I'm outie. Okay, so as this car passes, I'm outie. Now he's about to get over it. Come on, man. But anyways, like I was saying, man, when Teofimo when he has to go on the hunt, like when you when you look at him with Sandor Martin. He went on a hunt with Sandor Martin, and Sandor Martin was able to keep him off balance and walk him into big shots. And they're not even, big shot. They're big shots for someone like a Sandor Martin, but the fact that they were just well-timed and well-placed shots, and it was able to put him on his ass, that was saying a lot. Now, I listened to Cali X Boxing yesterday, and shout out to Cali X Boxing, man. I think the dude does, he has a real dope analysis and, take on the sport, and a really good eye on the sport, man. But what he said was, those were big fights. Those fights, Cambosos and Sandor Martin, those weren't necessarily fights that Teofimo could get up for. He got up for he got up for Lomachenko, and he got up for Josh Taylor. Understandable, because it happens. A lot of times people play down to the level of their competition. But the thing is this, man, Jermaine Ortiz should not be looked at as somebody who's played down to that. That you can play down to your competition to, that you can't get up for. Why? Because a lot of people feel he won against Lomachenko. I don't. But a lot of people felt he beat Lomachenko. He did enough to beat Lomachenko early on in the fight. And I completely disagree with it, but I understand why people think that. So this dude can't afford to sit here and tell me that look past Jermaine Ortiz. And even now he's calling out blood and everything. And I don't know, man. Just some people's mind works differently, man. And Teofimo Lopez is a dude whose mind works real different, man. Like the dude is, the dude is batshit crazy. He's batshit crazy, man. These is, the Lopez is, chemically imbalanced motherfuckers. And you think because of that he's not gonna be able to perform to the best of his abilities, and against Josh Taylor, we was proving on the contrary, man. And I think that I don't know, man. I think with him, I don't even know how. I don't have the I don't have the words to put in the context of how the average shit that may not that may go against the grain with another fighter doesn't seem to go against the grain with him. He can talk about other fighters and still keep his focus, because I just think he's that fucked up in the head to where this is a non sequitur to me, man. I'm gonna say what I want to say about this motherfucker right here. It didn't go and do a destruction dive on this motherfucker in front of me, man. I ain't tripping. It is what it is. Some motherfuckers is able to do that. Some motherfuckers is able to look through you or look past you, but still be fully focused on you on fight night. So maybe he can prove to be, the anomaly in situations like this, man. But even with all that being said and done, this is not a walk in the park. Now, granted, Lomachenko was out of the ring for well over it. I think he was out the ring for about a year, and he was, he was in a combat zone. He was in a combat zone, and so it wasn't like he was having time to get in the gym and train or nothing like that, man. He was just going strictly off of instinct and fumes. I got 3 months to prep for this fight. I bet. So in that case, he was able to, I think it was, that made it a lot more easier for Jermaine Ortiz to be able to keep up with him. But he was also a sparring partner. He was also a sparring partner as well. So I'm not so sure, man. Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know so much about that fight, but I do know that Jermaine Ortiz is a little bit rangier than Lomachenko, than Teofimo Lopez, and it's certain, like his fighting style, man. I think Teofimo Lopez needs you to come to him and open up a little bit more so he can catch you in between the shots. He's not necessarily a dude who likes to go out on the hunt. He's really uncomfortable in them situations where he has to go on the hunt for his kill. Nah, man, he's the lion. He's the male lion. You dig? You let Shorty them handle that shit. They cook the food, we feast on it. So he'd much rather you stay there in front of him than to take those half steps back and circle the perimeter of the ring. You dig? That's it. That's his bread and butter. He needs you to come towards him, and he needs you to open up in combinations, man. He doesn't need you throwing, the occasional 2 off of the jab. And I think that's something that Jermaine Ortiz has in his arsenal to really hinder this dude from getting into a rhythm early, especially early on. I think he's gonna have to get. He's gonna have to establish a jab, and he's gonna have to establish that left, that left hook time and Teofimo coming in, because he called Lomachenko with that a few times in their fight. And that was the fight. I've watched the Teofimo and Lomachenko fight a multitude of times, and I just went back and rewatched Jermaine Ortiz versus Lomachenko, man, and they both put on career best performances against him. So I think that's a really good acid test to judge, to make some sort of proper analysis between these two matching up, man. And I just feel like Jermaine Ortiz is a dude who really needs to get get on the jab early on, work behind, and you don't even throw hooks and uppercuts until you got his timing coming in. And I think he's capable of doing that. Stepping back off the jab, stepping in with the 2, getting out of range. You do that for the first few rounds. He's lunging. You catch him coming in with the left hooks. You time him coming in with the uppercuts. You do all of this shit. You could possibly win the fight. But I think when he gets complacent and he realizes, I'm beating him to the punch so I can step in behind these shots and get a little bit more comfortable, that's where you can start to see the tide begin to turn. Even though I do think he's a little bit better in the pocket, I think he's a little bit better in the pocket than Teofimo Lopez. I think he can stand there and bang. I think he's a lot more savvy in the clinch. You dig, under duress when shots are getting fired back at him. I think Teofimo is too good of a counterpuncher with the catch and shoots for you to get complacent, and I think that's what's going to start happening. He's going to start getting complacent, or he could start getting complacent, and then just that's when the tide does begin to shift in favor of Teofimo Lopez. We can't necessarily look at Josh Taylor and use that as a compare how Josh Taylor did, who's the taller fighter between him and Jermaine Ortiz, and use that. Now we can't do that because Josh Taylor is a dude who likes to step into his shots. He's a dude who likes to step into. Well, you can in the sense that when um when Jermaine Ortiz begins to plant his feet, all right, yeah, now you can look at how we did Josh Taylor, and now you can see why you can do it in that regard. But I think his overall game is range. And I don't think. Actually, I don't think. I know Teofimo doesn't have the feet that Lomachenko has to be able to close the distance on the fight. On his opponent. Teofimo was close. Lomachenko was closing distance quite easily. His guard is a little bit tighter. His head movement is a lot better, and he's just faster on his feet, and he knows how to utilize those angles really well. And I think he should also keep Teofimo off balance with the switch hitting. The minute Teofimo starts to hone in on the way he the way he his his escape routes, his exit strategies out of the conventional stance, switch to the southpaw stance to further confuse him. I think that's what he should be doing for this entire fight. I don't give a fuck if you stink the place out. The objective is to win. The objective is to win. But I'm not so sure that he can pull this off because Teofimo is just his pedigree is he may have the best. I think his resume is better than Devin Haney. He has a better resume than Devin Haney. He does. He does. He beat the lineal champion up there at 140 pounds. He beat Richard Comey before he beat Lomachenko. Even though it was a stink, a real head scratcher with Sandor Martin. Him even beating Sandor Martin is like, yo, okay. But Jermaine Ortiz has to take a page out of Sandor Martin's book and see what kept, how he was able to keep him off balance. I think he needs to do that if he's going to be successful in this fight, and I think he can do that. So I don't know who's going to win this fight, bro. I don't know. I'm not even going to make a prediction. I just wanted to come on here and talk about it because I just, Teofimo's class of fighters is a cut above Jermaine Ortiz's, man, and that's pretty much how I'm feeling about it, man. I'm going to work to get this Friday Eve over with, yo. Y'all be easy. Doses.